What if one ordinary decision could completely destroy your life? Today we're diving into NightTide, a film that uses a seemingly simple story to expose the darkest side of human nature. This isn't just a recap, it's a full breakdown of the hidden messages, psychological struggles, and the tragic truth most viewers completely miss. Beneath the tense scenes and unexpected turns, this film is a sharp reflection of guilt, fear, and how easily people can lose themselves when they're trapped by their own secrets. Our story begins in the hazy, smoke-filled jazz clubs of a 1960s seaside town, where the air is thick with the sound of a desperate flute. Johnny, a young sailor on leave, wanders into this bohemian underworld, looking for nothing more than a momentary escape from his duty. He spots a woman sitting alone, her beauty as cold and sharp as a glass of white wine in the moonlight. This is Mora. She is a mystery wrapped in a riddle, working at a local carnival as a mermaid in a tank. But as Johnny approaches her, the atmosphere shifts. The music stops being a background and starts feeling like a warning. He buys her a drink, and for a moment, they are just two souls connecting in the dark. However, their peace is shattered by the appearance of a stern, older woman who speaks in a language Johnny doesn't understand. She seems to command Mora, exerting a psychological grip that leaves the young woman trembling and submissive. Despite the strange tension, Johnny is hooked. He follows Mora through the midnight streets, drawn by an invisible tide. They find themselves at an old merry-go-round, a place of childhood joy that feels eerily hollow in the middle of the night. Mora lives above this carousel. She tells him she loves the music, that it reminds her of a home she barely remembers. When they kiss, it feels like the start of a romance, but the shadows of the carnival machinery suggest a different ending. The next morning, Johnny returns to the pier. He meets the carousel's owner and his granddaughter, Ellen. They seem like normal, friendly people, yet they look at Johnny with a strange pity, as if he's already a ghost. Johnny ascends to Mora's apartment for breakfast. The room is filled with sea stars and shells, a shrine to the ocean. They eat fresh fish on the balcony, overlooking the vast churning Pacific. Mora speaks of sea urchins and the taste of the deep. Then she drops the bombshell. She is a mermaid, not just a performer, but a siren from the island of Mykonos. Johnny laughs it off as a gimmick, but then he watches her reach into the sky and catch a seagull with her bare hands. The bird struggles, but Mora calms it with a whisper. It's a moment of raw, primal connection that terrifies Johnny as much as it fascinates him. As the story moves forward, we begin to see the real conflict. Johnny meets Captain Murdoch, Mora's mysterious guardian. Murdoch claims he saved her from a lonely island, but his stories are dark, filled with warnings of ancient sea spirits. He hands Johnny a card, inviting him to his home. The air is thick with the smell of salt and old secrets. Every choice the character makes leads to worse consequences. Johnny witnesses Mora's performance, submerged in a glass tank. Through the water she looks less like a woman and more like a predator, her eyes fixed on him through the glass. Later on the beach, the tension between reality and myth reaches a breaking point. Johnny asks about Murdoch, sensing a jealousy that borders on the pathological. Mora calls him a lonely old man, but her eyes say otherwise. This is where the film's true message appears. When people try to hide their mistakes, they only create bigger disasters. At a beach party, the primal energy explodes. Under the beat of a conga drum, Mora begins to dance. She spins wildly, her shadow dancing on the rocks like a dark spirit. Johnny watches, paralyzed by a mixture of desire and dread. Suddenly, she collapses. She claims she saw the mysterious woman again, a siren from the deep calling her back. Johnny takes her home, but the fear has taken root. He seeks out a fortune teller, Madame Romanovich. She lays out the cards, the moon and the hanged man, symbols of deep delusion and a life suspended between two worlds. She warns Johnny that he is in grave danger. The crab tries to climb out of the water, but it always sinks back again. She says, the director uses small, subtle details to show how guilt slowly eats away at a person's mind. Johnny visits Murdoch's house, a macabre museum of maritime horrors. He finds a severed hand in a jar, the hand of a thief. Murdoch, drunk and manic, explains that Mora is a monster, a descendant of the sirens who lure men to their deaths. He tells Johnny that Mora's previous lovers are all dead, drowned mysteriously by the very thing they loved. At this moment, Johnny finally understands the cost of his actions, but it's already too late. He finds Mora in a state of psychic collapse. She believes she is cursed. She feels the salt water in her veins. She hears the ocean calling her home like a mother. Johnny tries to anchor her to reality, but the myth is stronger than his love. One of the most important scenes happens halfway through the film. Johnny has a nightmare of Mora transforming into a tentacled beast. The horror isn't just physical. It is the realization that he no longer knows the woman he is holding. He wakes up to find Mora gone. Her bed is wet. There are damp footprints leading out to the sea. He runs to the pier, screaming her name into the crashing waves, but only the wind answers. By the final act, everything spirals out of control. Johnny confronts Murdoch one last time. The old captain, driven by a sick, possessive love, confesses he didn't find a mermaid. He found an orphan. He spent years brainwashing her, making her believe she was a monster so she would never leave him. When she fell in love with other men, Murdoch killed them himself, letting Mora believe her nature was responsible. The mysterious woman was just another of Murdoch's tricks, a ghost created to drive her back into his arms. Mora, unable to live with the confusion and the blood on her hands, chose the only freedom she could imagine, the deep. Beyond the plot, NightTide is a study of human morality. It asks a simple but powerful question. How far would you go to protect yourself? The film's greatest strength is that it doesn't give easy answers. It shows that life is messy and guilt can destroy a person from the inside. Johnny is left alone, a man who survived the tide but lost his soul to the shore. He meets Ellen one last time. She offers him a way out, a return to normalcy, but Johnny is changed forever. The truth came out, but it didn't set anyone free. It only revealed the wreckage of 3 broken lives. If you love movies that make you think, not just entertain you, this film is definitely worth watching.